Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're going to tackle something that's absolutely critical for any app you build in Azure. How do you make sure people can actually find your service? And then, how do you handle all that traffic when they do without everything falling over? Let's get right into it.
So picture this. Your app is a massive success. That's amazing. But you've got a new kind of problem. How do you keep the experience fast and reliable for every single user when the requests just keep flooding in? That's exactly what we're going to break down today. How to manage your network traffic like a pro in Azure.
All right, here's our game plan. We're going to start with Azure DNS, which is all about giving your services a name. Then we'll meet the Azure Load Balancer, our friendly traffic cop. After that, we'll level up to the application gateway, the really smart receptionist. And finally, we'll put it all together so you know exactly which tool to grab for any situation. First up, Azure DNS.
Okay, first things first, we have to solve the naming problem. Because let's be real, nobody wants to remember a long string of numbers like an IP address. We're human. We need simple, friendly names. And that, my friends, is where the Domain Name System, or DNS, comes into play. Think of Azure DNS as the ultimate address book, not just for the internet, but for your own private networks too. Its one job is to take a name that we can all remember, like contoso.com, and translate it into an IP address that computers understand. Honestly, it's the invisible hero that makes pretty much everything else on the network possible.
Now, this is where it gets really interesting, because there's a huge difference between being public and being private. A public DNS zone puts your app on the world map. Anyone on the internet can find it. But a private DNS zone, that creates a kind of walled garden. It's for your internal services to talk to each other securely inside your own little slice of the Azure cloud, what we call a VNet, without ever touching the public internet.
So you might be asking, how do I tell the rest of the world that Azure is in charge of my domain's DNS? Well, it's a simple process called delegation. You just create what's called a DNS zone in Azure. Azure then gives you a few named server addresses. You take those addresses, head over to wherever you bought your domain, and you just pop them in. It's basically like filing a change of address with the post office for your corner of the internet.
And this is where private DNS really flexes its muscles. You get cool stuff like automatic registration, so your virtual machines just show up in DNS automatically. You can have different virtual networks talk to each other by name, and my personal favorite, split-brain DNS. This lets you use the same domain name, but it gives a public IP to the outside world and a totally different private IP for your internal services. It's super powerful.
All right, Section 2, balancing the traffic load. So people can find your service now. Great. But what happens when a lot of people show up at the same time? A single server can't handle it all, and if it goes down, your whole app goes down. That's a single point of failure, and we need to avoid that.
So meet the Azure Load Balancer. I want you to think of it as a traffic cop at a super busy intersection. It doesn't really care where the cars are going. It just looks at the flow of traffic and directs cars to different lanes, or, in our case, different servers, to make sure no single lane gets totally backed up. It keeps things moving smoothly.
Now, getting a little technical, the load balancer works at what's called Layer 4, the transport layer. That means it deals with the basic building blocks of internet traffic, protocols like TCP and UDP. It only looks at the address and the port, not the data inside the request. And because it's not trying to read the message, it is incredibly fast and efficient.
And just like DNS, we've got public and internal flavors. A public load balancer is your front door, taking all that traffic from the internet and spreading it across your web servers. But an internal load balancer, that works completely inside your private network, maybe balancing traffic from your web servers to your back-end databases. In a real-world app, you're almost always using both together.
Okay, pay attention to this slide because it's important. When you create a load balancer, you have a choice, basic or standard. The takeaway here is simple. You should always choose the standard SKU. Seriously. The basic one is being retired, it has no service level agreement, and it's open to traffic by default, which is a big no-no for security. Standard is secure out of the box, way more resilient, and scales much, much bigger. It's the only real choice for production.
On to Section 3. So, what happens when a simple traffic cop just isn't enough? What if you need someone smarter at the front desk? Like a really good receptionist who knows exactly what each visitor needs and can send them to the perfect person to talk to. Well, for that, you need the Azure Application Gateway.
This thing is our intelligent traffic manager. It works at Layer 7, the application layer. What does that mean? It means it actually understands the language of the web, HTTP. It can look inside the request and see things like the specific URL path someone is asking for.
and that lets it make way, way smarter decisions.
And with that intelligence comes some serious superpowers. You can route traffic based on the URL, so requests for images go to one set of servers and videos go to another. You can offload all that heavy SSL encryption work to the gateway, freeing up your web servers. And you can even add a web application firewall, or a WAF, to protect you from nasty attacks. This is some next-level stuff.
Let's see this in action. A user types in a URL with /video in it. The request hits the application gateway. The gateway takes one look at that path, c/video, and says, "Aha, I know exactly where this goes," and it sends that request straight to the special servers that are optimized for video, leaving your other web servers completely untouched. It's just smart.
And that brings us to our final section, choosing the right tool. We've filled our toolkit now. We've got DNS for naming things, the load balancer for basic traffic control, and the application gateway for real intelligence. Now, let's make it crystal clear which one you should grab and when.
Here it is, your ultimate cheat sheet. If you're just dealing with raw network traffic, TCP or UDP, and you need speed and efficiency, grab the load balancer. It's your traffic cop. But if you're dealing with web traffic, HTTP or HTTPS, and you need to make smart decisions based on the URL or add security features, you need the application gateway. That's your smart receptionist. It's as simple as that.
So there you have it. By mixing and matching Azure DNS for finding your services, load balancers for high-speed resilience, and application gateways for that application-level intelligence, you can build some truly powerful, secure, and scalable systems. The next time your app goes viral, you'll be ready. Thanks for joining me on The Explainer.